Welcome back to Kleppers Corner, Today in History, the show where we take one date on the calendar, blow the dust off it, and immediately discover that humanity has never known how to relax, especially on January 8th. January 8th is the historical equivalent of your group chat after somebody says, "Hey, can we keep this short?" And then everyone posts a paragraph. Monarchs, presidents, pirates, revolutionaries, scientists, everybody decided to drop their big news on the same day. It's basically the Black Friday of historical events. So today, we're walking through 7 centuries of chaos, innovation, cosmic poetry, political theater, and at least one man who kickstarted a dynasty by pulling a sword out of a robe like medieval Gandalf. Let's get into it. Segment 1, the Grimaldis, Washington's first State of the Union, and the birth of the American tradition problem. January 8th starts strong in 1297 with Francesco Grimaldi, a man who said, "I want Monaco," and then followed it up with, "But what if I dressed like a monk?" He strolls up to the fortress like he's late for choir practice, gets waved in, pulls out a sword, and bam, dynasty founded. This is the kind of tactical creativity you only see in medieval politics and modern HOA disputes. Fast forward to 1790. George Washington gives the first State of the Union on January 8th. It's short, concise, dignified. Basically, everything modern State of the Union addresses are not. Washington says, we need defense, we need knowledge, we need to hold this whole country thing together. And Congress says, sounds good. That's it. No applause marathons, no hecklers, no camera cuts to the guy who fell asleep. Washington walked so modern presidents could sprint, sweat, wave at 73 different aisles, and promise broadband to people who still don't have sidewalks. January 8th is already establishing itself as the day where formality meets absurdity. Monaco gets founded by cosplay, and America gets its first political PowerPoint. Segment 2, the Battle of New Orleans and the day America accidentally won a war that was already over. Then comes January 8th, 1815, the day Andrew Jackson blows up American mythology, British ambitions, and the belief that wars end when treaties are signed. News traveled slowly back then, so Jackson didn't know the War of 1812 had technically ended. Neither did the British. So they both show up in New Orleans ready to rock. Jackson's army is a live-action mashup. Militias, pirates, free men of color, Choctaw warriors, and enough cotton bales to qualify as an agricultural landmark. The British march across an open field like someone forgot to update their battle strategy patch notes. The fog lifts, Jackson's men open fire, and suddenly the British realize they should have checked the weather app for dense American artillery. Jackson becomes a national hero for winning a war that was already over. It's like submitting a late assignment and still getting extra credit. America loved this so much that for decades, January 8th was basically the 4th of July's cousin who parties harder. Segment 3, Andrew Jackson's fiscal magic trick, Wolf Mountain, and how January 8th became the day America tried things. January 8th, 1835. Andrew Jackson wakes up and says, you know what? We're paying off the national debt. And somehow, he actually does it. America's balance hits zero for the first and only time ever. People celebrate. Jackson smiles. The Treasury Department takes a victory lap. For one shining moment, America looks at its finances and says, this sparks joy. Then the surplus gets handed to the states. Everyone overspends. The national bank is gone. Speculation skyrockets, and the panic of 1837 arrives like a financial tsunami. So yes, January 8th is the day America hits zero debt. And also the day America accidentally presses the doom economy button like a toddler with an iPad. 42 years later, January 8th, 1877, we get the Battle of Wolf Mountain. The army marches through a winter so brutal, even the snow looked tired. Crazy Horse's warriors hold their ground. No one wins decisively, but the message is clear. The U.S. military will freeze, march, and repeat until the last pocket of resistance is gone. It's the day winter warfare stops being theoretical and becomes a lifestyle choice. January 8th, the day America keeps trying things. Some glorious, some disastrous. Most of them involving Andrew Jackson. Segment 4, punch cards, pendulums, and the universe's January 8th science flex. January 8th, 1889. Herman Hollerith patents the punch card system that eventually becomes IBM, then becomes computers, then becomes your smartphone, then becomes the thing that corrects your text into wildly inappropriate sentences. Hollerith's invention saves the census, creates modern data processing, and launches the information age. January 8th becomes the birthday of big data and the future cause of your digital anxiety. But January 8th isn't done showing off, because in 1851, Foucault proves the Earth rotates. Not with equations, not with telescopes, with a swinging metal ball. People watch it and say, the Earth is moving. January 8th becomes the quiet overachiever of science holidays. And then comes the cosmic mic drop. Galileo dies on January 8th, 1642. Stephen Hawking is born on January 8th, 1942. Exactly 300 years apart. It's like the universe said, okay, new season of Genius Man, recast complete. January 8th, the only date that can claim a physics relay race across 3 centuries. Segment 5, Wilson's 14 points, the ANC, de Gaulle, and the day politics decided to make themselves complicated. January 8th is basically the Super Bowl of political reinvention. 1918, Woodrow Wilson walks into Congress with a list, and not just any list, 14 points. A diplomatic wish list so ambitious, Europe responds with a collective eye roll. But it reshapes global politics and inspires the League of Nations, which later inspires the United Nations, which inspires Twitter arguments, which inspires me asking, why? 1912, the ANC forms in South Africa, launching what will become a decades-long struggle against segregation and later apartheid. Every January 8th, ANC leaders give a speech outlining the party's direction, like the political version of a season premiere. 1959, Charles de Gaulle becomes the first president of the Fifth Republic, rebooting France with a constitution that finally stops its political system from falling over like a toddler learning to walk. Segment 6, from poverty wars to art tours, LBJ and the Mona Lisa change America. 1964, LBJ gives his first State of the Union and says, we're declaring an unconditional war on poverty. And America says, wait, unconditional? And LBJ says, did I stutter? Programs explode across the country. Head Start, Job Corps, Vista. The Great Society takes shape because LBJ decided inequality shouldn't be a hobby. But January 8th is also the day America gets a visit from the world's most famous introvert, the Mona Lisa. January 8th, 1963, she arrives in Washington like she's on a world tour titled Smiling Since the Renaissance. She gets Secret Service protection, press coverage, and millions of fans who walk away saying, wow, she's smaller than I thought. Segment 7, Revolutions, Tragedy, Democracy, and the Modern Chaos Portfolio. 2011, Tunisia's Kasserine massacre turns protests into a revolution. The Arab Spring ignites. Authoritarianism gets its worst Yelp review ever. That same day, in the U.S., the Tucson shooting devastates a community and sparks nationwide debates about rhetoric, safety, and the boundaries of public life. It's a painful reminder that history isn't just shaped by presidents and generals, but by ordinary people caught in extraordinary violence. 2020, Flight PS-752 is shot down amid geopolitical tension, becoming a symbol of human tragedy in an age where mistakes can be catastrophic and instantaneous. 2023, Brazil faces its own January 6th moment. Protesters storm the national buildings, but the institutions strike back quickly. January 8th becomes a lesson in what democracy looks like when everyone decides to respond with caffeine and coordination. And finally, January 8th brings us Elvis Presley, born this day in 1935, and his mother choosing a guitar over a rifle in 1946. single-handedly shaping the future of music. January 8th also probably marks the birthday of Kim Jong-un, which North Korea treats with the same energy as someone pretending it's not a big deal while still expecting cake. January 8th contains all of humanity: revolution, heartbreak, art, justice, discovery, tragedy, resilience, and a boy in Tupelo who changed the world because his mom said, "No guns." In conclusion, January 8th is the Swiss Army knife of historical dates. A day where monarchs rise, governments reboot, wars end, revolutions ignite, physics gets proven, computers get born, and Elvis receives a guitar that alters the course of global culture. It's a day where humanity tries, fails, succeeds, reinvents, calculates, overreaches, rebels, mourns, and occasionally buys the wrong birthday present, but ends up creating rock and roll. January 8th isn't just a date. It's a full anthology series. And we'll see you next time, because history never stops, but January 8th sure tries to do it all at once.